Namaste, Sahana ji.
Namaste.
Thank you so much for joining us today. And the work that you have done is really wonderful. The book that you have, Revitalizing the Educational History of India. And I would really request all my viewers to read the book, buy this book, and learn how the education and everything was in ancient India. So your work is really commendable, and that's a lot of dharma work that you have done. So if you would like to start with how your journey went and how did you come to write this book, what are you doing these days, and what are the future plans and other things?
Thank you so much. It was a surprise for me to hear from you. I didn't know that my work is being read even in far off countries.
Yes.
So it's very joyful to know that. The journey, well, all these years, the answer that I've been giving is going by the sequence of events that happened.
Yeah.
So the sequence of events were that when we moved to America, so when my daughter was in the 8th grade, we moved to America from Singapore. As long as we were in Singapore, everything was fine. We were just very close to India. We used to keep going back to India. Everything was right with the world. I did know that our history has been distorted. So I had read the works of Dr. David Frawley, Dr. Rajaram and all that. So it was there on the side. But I thought I was a consumer of that information.
Yeah.
I had no role to play in this, in talking about it. But once we moved to the US and I saw my daughter's world history textbook, and then I was very excited to know what even I want to learn along with her, what she's learning. And I turned to the pages on India. That is when I got a shock. And I came to know that the way India is represented is so negative. And there are statements like, India's caste system, which is an affront to the Western concepts of egalitarianism.
Yes.
Something like that was written, as if Western egalitarianism versus India's caste system. That was the way it was positioned. And I got furious because, I know about Western egalitarianism, right? What has happened in the colonizers who came to India, what they did with us. Plus, with the indigenous people in America, what they have done. How can they be the people who talk about egalitarianism without their own talking about their history? So that's when I started writing a few things. And social media had just made an entry. So I just used to write a lot. And I found that there's a lot of response. People are liking what I write. So I thought maybe I should also be writing about history, even though I'm not qualified. Because you see, I had those boundaries. I'm an engineer. I'm trained to be an engineer. So I shouldn't be writing about history. That's how I thought. But as you can see, in that period, a lot of engineers have all come into this field, right?
And how shameful it is that those who are the mainstream historians never thought in last 70 years to fix few things. Neither, and I'm not talking about just the Indian mainstream historians. Think about people living in all over the place, all over the world, from Australia, from America, from Singapore, from European countries. Nobody ever thought about what is wrong with our history. So you just got some sort of a divine ping that you need to question it, you need to be furious.
The funny thing is that, so it was because on the face of it, my daughter's history book, which got me started, and the social media revolution, which got me noticed. And that's how one thing led to the other. And I was part of so many organizations which are inviting me to talk and things like that. And that's how I got going with my book. But then as I came to know my own family history, I realized that I'm actually doing something that my grandfather, great-grandfather, all of them were on the same path. Wow. So it's just, Purva Janma Samskara, as we say it in Kannada.
Yes.
So my great-grandfather, grandfather, they were all teachers. He's Sanskrit, very passionate about teaching Sanskrit literature. And this was the era of colonizers because the British were there. And they were doing their best to make people realize that, value Sanskrit. It is, English is nowhere near Sanskrit. So you have to make sure you understand Sanskrit, read Kalidasa, read all the works.
You belong to gurus and acharyas lineages.
That's, I belonged to it, but I wasn't doing anything in that direction. And I thought I can't even be a teacher. I thought I hate teaching. I can never be a teacher. These are the things I used to say when I was in college, And then suddenly now I'm thinking, what? I'm actually teaching. There is this, something was there it was planned out, it was destiny. and I just like joined that. I became part of what I was meant to do. So that has been the most beautiful part of my journey.
How did you come to write this book? This wonderful book.
So this book, if on the face of it, again, it started with because I got connected with history. So I was trying to correct narratives about sati, about caste system and things like that. And then in the process, I wanted to write about universities, ancient India's universities, Nalanda. And in those days, I only knew about Nalanda, Takshashila, few universities.
Before reading your book, I only knew these two. Only when I read your book, I realized there is a whole list of universities.
That's my own journey too, to find out that the whole of India was covered with centers of learning, advanced centers. And I'm thinking, what people from Mongolia, China, everybody's coming here and they're taking our teachers to their countries. How our professors are being received in China and being given a welcome and given palaces to live in, to translate Sanskrit works to Chinese. So this was a revelation to me. And the fact that even in those days, the students used to decide where they want to study. They didn't mind traveling to far off places. They're going to Kashmir to study in Sharda Peeth, or from the north, they're coming to south to study in Kantalur Shala, or they're studying in Sringeri. So it's like a whole network, a whole number of universities and mathas and what have you, gatikas, different types of centers of learning and libraries. And we are thinking it's some new invention which came from the West. We are having libraries, but then we see the temple libraries used to be there, temple universities with libraries. So that discovery made me write a series of articles. Even in the beginning, I didn't think I would write a book. I thought I'll write some articles. And then I wrote a series of articles. Then a lot of people said, write it, make it into a book. Yeah. We don't want articles. So first I wrote a small book. Then I wasn't happy with that because each day I'm learning new things. And then I want to keep adding to it. Even today now, if I were to write this book, it will become double the size because I have come to know so many more things.
Yes.
So that's what it is. Work in progress. I am just sharing what I learned.
No, this is really wonderful. So, Sahana ji, why do you think it is very important to understand the educational traditions of ancient India? And not knowing, how does that impact today's generation of people, those who are especially living abroad outside India? And even in India, I have seen so many youngsters, aiming for Yale or Harvard or Oxford or Cambridge or someplace, and even for the subjects that can very well be taught in India. And I have found the syllabus of those subjects in much better condition, in much better way in India in comparison to any American university or European university. Still, and parents are also pushing them. Yes, you should, as if going to Harvard or Cambridge or any European university is not just a status symbol or something like that, as if just the biggest achievement of somebody's life. What they study, what happens to them afterward, that's a different story. But yes, so how important it is for everybody, whether living in India or outside, that you need to know what our educational heritage was.
Right. No, I think first of all, we all need to know our true history, right? So because otherwise, we have been colonized and our drishti has been taken away from us. The original drishti that we had towards the world, which was very universal. Sanatana Dharma is universal. It doesn't even have the concept of the other. It's all about seeing myself in everybody, right? So when that drishti is gone and now we are colonized and we were made to look down on ourselves and to believe that everything came to us from the West. So I think why we need to know our heritage is that we need to know our own contribution, the contribution of our gurus. Otherwise, we are doing a big disservice to all those hundreds of gurus who laid the foundation of every discipline that we are studying today in modern universities.
Thing you said.
Right. Yeah. I mean, every morning we are supposed to remember our gurus, our ancestors, our pitrus. That is the tradition of India. And now if we just don't remember those gurus who gave us all this knowledge on the basis of which the Europeans built their knowledge, and we are just worshipping these people for what they gave us, then it is very unfair. So we must acknowledge the work of our gurus, Panini, Pingala, Brahmagupta, Bhaskaracharya, all these gurus, because every field that we are studying, every discipline that we are studying, including, even English language language if you're studying, and if you're studying grammar, then the grammar has been so influenced by the grammar of Panini, because linguistics came up as a discipline when the Westerners came into contact with Panini's grammar in the 18th century, William Jones and others. So that, so we are only looking at the edifice and not looking at the foundation. Right. So I think knowing the heritage would make us know the foundation, and we'll know that we are not just leaves floating around. We are part of a big tree.
Yes.
So we'll come to know the big tree that we are part of, and then all those concepts that went with it. Once we get into our own heritage, then our drishti will start coming back to us. And our drishti is very important, because that is the drishti, as I keep telling everybody, that look at all the problems of the modern world that we have today, right? Whether it is climate change, global warming, then we have psychological problems, all the problems, depression, this, that, pollution, right? So many problems. It has not come from the Bharatiya drishti. The problems were not created by thinking in the Bharatiya drishti. So I always quote Albert Einstein. He said, you cannot solve a problem with the same thinking that created the problem.
In the first place, yeah.
So when all these problems have been created by the Western thinking, you cannot solve it with the Western thinking. So you have to get your Sanatana Dharma drishti back. And to get that drishti back, you have to know your education. You have to know the Indian knowledge systems. Get the drishti back, then you will look at, you'll start thinking of now how can we reverse all the damage. So that is what I say. That is the reason we need to get back.
Yeah, I would like to add, you said a very beautiful thing that you do if you do not understand what gurus did. See, to awaken the Guru Tattva in somebody or even in ourselves, what is it that we do? We have so much devotion and shraddha for the Guru who has taught us in any lifetime, right? But not knowing who was teaching what. How can you awaken a Guru Tattva? So this is very important even for those who are walking the spiritual journey and listening to this podcast. They also should understand that if you want to awaken the Guru Tattva, you need to know about the Gurus and their contributions and what they did. It's similarly like you would read autobiography or biography of any of the gurus or great people. Why do we do that? Just so that we can awaken the same thing. If you read the biographies of or autobiographies of all the freedom fighters, you will get courage. Exactly in the same way, if you read about the gurus and the ancient education system and knowledge and wisdom traditions and all that, then definitely you will awaken the Guru Tattva with them. So it is very important.
That's a beautiful, that's a very nice way to understand it. Yeah. And there's another thing also, that when we go back to our own thinking, then what happens is that we won't think in binaries. So today, the way we think, the Western education system conditions us to think in binaries.
It seems binary, like everything has been computerized all the way to your head. 0 and 1.
Right. Exactly. They will think, are you on the left or are you on the right? Right? And is it sacred or is it secular? So they will be looking at, oh, this is sacred, this is secular. Oh, this is religion, right? This is religion, this is science. So you start thinking in terms of binaries. So you're not able to open your mind and look at it in a totally different way. So that is important.
Mind
and the other thing is that two-dimensional. So you have to become multi-dimensional, which is what is our nature, our way of looking.
Who we are, yes.
Who we are. And the other thing is the concept of lower knowledge and higher knowledge. That doesn't come with the Western way of education, because we had this concept that all those subjects, the skills that we are learning, programming or any other subject we are learning, this is all actually lower education. The highest education is self-realization. So we have to move from lower to higher. So this lower is not the end in itself.
Shiksha versus
so that
Vidya.
Yeah, that is the true Vidya. That is the true aim of Vidya.
Yes.
Otherwise, you're stuck in avidya, where you're just thinking that, oh, I know engineering, I'm a good chemical engineer, I'm a good programmer, and you stop there, right? So that happens with Western education system. So by connecting to our own heritage and our own drishti, then we know that, okay, this is all for a bigger purpose. Okay, I got this knowledge, which is good, but now I need to move on and start knowing about myself, because ultimate knowledge is knowing knowing the self.
Yeah.
And once we know the self, then we are moving. So you know the who. You are the person who will explain this even better. So I think that is the biggest reason why we need to connect with our educational heritage.
And I don't know what happened, which actually, I don't know, in a way sort of sidelined everything that was spiritual. The knowledge of self became somehow as if some, outcast or outlawed or some weird people do that, learning about the self. Yeah, and all the great people actually study all these streams and skills and shiksha kind of
Correct.
stuff. And
Correct.
studying.
And also they associate with age. They say that, at this age I don't need to know. वो तो बूढ़े होके वो गीता अभी थोड़ी पढ़ेंगे बड़े.
As if Adi Shankaracharya was 80 years old. He died at such a young age. Adi Shankaracharya, by then, he has written so much. And imagine if nobody goes for self-realization, all these ancient traditions cannot be held. Because the people who have truly become selfless can do way much more service in the world than doing I, me, mine. Even a little bit of I, me, mine is left in you, then you'll always look for some kind of a reward and you'll get tired and it'll be an effort to do anything. When you are self-realized and enlightened, everything becomes effortless. Why? There's no nobody to push back or even expect anything from any outcome from your doing. So karta bhav, doership is lost and everything becomes beautiful.
Correct. Right. So this is the thing. I think the biggest difference between Western education and Indian education, ancient Indian education, because today's Indian education is the same as Western and a poor copy of it. So that I am the doer. This stays with the people. That doesn't go away if you stay in this modern Indian education or the Western. So to remove that, we need to connect. And the other thing is this, the way it is being introduced now, all this mindfulness, meditation, Indian knowledge systems are now coming back to us in a very degraded manner, as if it is just something you do on the side.
Yeah.
You do some meditation and that's it. You're done with it. You relaxed a bit and that's fine. Yeah. So that's another problem that it's come like a pop culture now. Yoga in America.
West, they attach everything. If you talk about Panchakoshas, they attach everything with your Annamaya Kosh or physical body, or they connect it with the mind, your manomaya kosh. For them, all rest of the koshas are missing. So even from the spirituality that they are teaching, and at max they may go to pranmaya kosh for the breathing exercises that they call. So everything that is being taught in the West on the name of spirituality is I just call it drama or something.
That's right. And there's another danger of this, which is sometimes, which I came to, only recently I became aware of it. So when they separate my meditation out, dhyana, they take it out from Hinduism. Then they take out yoga out of Hinduism. So they take out all these things from Hinduism. Now Hinduism is left with only caste system and sati and those kind of things. So all the things which are fantastic, which are part of Sanatana Dharma, are universalized or secularized, and that is now being taught. It has nothing to do with Hinduism now. So the way it is being taught is that it is a concept now. They give their own names to it, right? Like this super brain yoga. सुपर ब्रेन योगा विच इज नथिंग बट दैट उठक बैठक जो नॉटी बच्चों को करवाते थे ना, ये पकड़ के ऊपर नीचे हाथ ये करके, इट इज नाउ बीइंग कॉल्ड सुपर ब्रेन योगा बिकॉज दे हैव डन सम रिसर्च एंड फाउंड दैट इट calms down the mind and hyperactive children become very calm when they do it. So it is they teach super brain yoga, so now it is all these things are taken out and it has a patent now, super brain yoga. And then this Jalniti also, the Jalniti pot, they give it and nobody now knows it came from India. You can buy it in any pharmacy. So the problem is that our bits and chunks of our knowledge systems are being broken off and being repackaged and patented and presented to the world. So then India is not getting the credit. Sanatana Dharma is not getting the credit.
Or people are not benefiting from the holistic education that we were providing.
Exactly.
Instead, you just learn a bits and pieces here and there. And tomorrow you will become a person like that who will not see anything from the holistic perspective. Instead, you will end up looking into pieces and parts, and that's how you will deal with the world, your own self. And your own
Exactly.
life, you will look into bits and pieces and fragments, and you will be
Right.
shattered into thousand. That's the
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I was shocked, when this Google CEO, Sundar Pichai, was talking about NSDR, non-sleep deep rest. Non-sleep deep rest. He's saying if you are not able to sleep, insomnia, then you do non-sleep deep rest. You can watch the videos. And I was thinking, this is Yoga Nidra.
Ah.
Yoga Nidra is repackaged as non-sleep deep rest, NSDR. So this is nonsense. Our Indians are talking like this. Indians. So they are themselves complete slaves now of the Western repackaging.
Why these people do not read the Darshan Shastra? I understand education system was destroyed, but wisdom or knowledge texts were left in so many numbers that you can't say that everything was gone. No, everything was not gone. So reading the Darshan Shastras, and that way at least knowing what is the harm in using Patanjali's terminology, which is Yoga Nidra or Dharana or when I was walking my spiritual journey, only then I realized that meditation is not an exact translation of the word dhyana. Because if you read the definition, meditation is a doing, while dhyan is exactly opposite of that. You are not doing. There is no doership in that. Karta bhav nahi hai usme. So then I realized, okay, so to dharana they call as to dharana is still could be called as meditation, but dhyan definitely does not have a translation word, but everybody is doing meditation. You see how confused the Western translations and these people have made. They are just confusing people left and right, and when these people come to us, they have to go through a long process of unlearning. We have to strip them off from all the wrong concepts and terminologies that are in their head. Oh, if I do this, then I'm doing this. I said, no, just forget about all that terminology that you were taught. And it's been I think 100 years now, 100 years of such kind of a pollution and dilution and adulteration of our knowledge and wisdom text.
Right. No, that is true. It's because also we lost the language, the connection with language. So if we were all rooted in our mother tongues. So for example, my mother tongue is Kannada. But I don't know how to read and write Kannada. Because I grew up in Calcutta. So I know Bengali and Hindi. But then what happens is, again, it's a very English-based culture that we are having. So English, when we want to read heavy books, it will be in English. And in Hindi and all, it will be simpler books. So this is the way. So we have, that is the loss of the deracination with the text is because we want to read in English, and in English it doesn't make so much sense. Like even Panchatantra. Now recently, before I wrote this book, I wanted to read Panchatantra, so I started reading in Hindi, and then I realized, my God, the meaning of this whole thing is something so profound. Even just the introduction itself, I was marveling at the introduction of
Same thing happened with me. I was so used to while living in America, I got so used to reading everything in English, and all in English you have to go round and round and round to explain one simple concept, and that is when I realized my Hindi is destroyed. I left and right, I bought everything in Hindi. I just called one of the publisher. I said, they sent me around 50 to 100 books just in Hindi, especially all darshans in Hindi, Yoga Vasishtha, Gita, everything in Hindi. And when I read that, it's some sort of a Atma Sukh. I cannot explain it in words that you get by reading it in Hindi, because it's a straightforward, no dilution happens, because these are commentaries from the Sanskrit text, original text. And in the West, when you read English books, it's commentary over commentary over commentary over commentary. So what you have got, who knows? God knows what you are reading now.
So the decolonization process is needed even for me. Having been so used to English. But the thing I try to do now is to listen to a lot of discourses. So in Kannada, I listen to discourses, Hindi, I listen. And when I travel all over India, I keep traveling a lot. So there I meet a lot of people and learn from them. So this is my decolonization journey, but a lot more is needed. At least if we are alert about this, the next generation, we can try to tell them, don't think in English. Do something so that you don't think in English.
Yes.
Right? Otherwise, you'll be just getting very low level meanings of everything.
Yes. And what I tell my spiritual disciples and students is that till the time you start understanding the language of silence, you better understand the correct language and words, so at least you know whatever I am conveying to you actually goes inside, and that requires you listening from without the filters of the colonization. You listening from the truth perspective and not some sort of a Western lens that you are wearing. So all that has to go away. And learning Hindi or Sanskrit, I have put many of my students onto that path, Westerners and not from India, I mean not Indians. I have put them onto the path of learn Hindi, learn Sanskrit. Read something original. You can't pronounce a mantra or anything without knowing the language. If your pronunciation is whacked, you are not going to make a sense of mantra itself. Your tongue doesn't roll properly for R. You better not chant any mantra. It's that simple.
I think it's very hard. It's very challenging for Westerners, right?
But
however hard they try.
See, again, if you are ready to put the hard work in anything for your own benefit, then you must as well do it. People learn these days. When I was living in America, my son was always studying either Chinese or Spanish or French. There is a foreign language that you have to study, you must study, right? Exactly in the same way, here in Australia, they will always teach you one foreign language. Now, one beautiful thing is they have made 4 or 5 Indian languages as part of the curriculum. So you can take Hindi now that he's out of school and now he's in college. But now you can study Hindi and Gujarati, Marathi and Punjabi, and there's one other language. So 5 languages.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
not in all schools, right? Some schools maybe.
In the government schools, it is available now. All the government schools of Victoria. It is available. So now you don't have to put your child, if you are Punjabi or you are Hindi, you know at least your child will be able to read the signboards if he goes to India anywhere. But right now the condition is they will understand, they will speak Hindi. But again, they cannot read or write.
Correct. So that's a beginning. So this is the loss. I feel that this is the loss that we've had. So the knowledge is there in the books. Yeah. But and there are people studying it, but those of us who got into English education, and I was just analyzing it, it's from my parents' generation. They are the ones. So unke time se ye chalta aa raha hai.
My father was doctor, mother was doctor. All their books were in English. Did they study medical science in Hindi? No, they did not. Did I study computer science in Hindi? No. Everything was in English. So until the subjects are available, subject-specific knowledge is available in our own language, it's going to be very difficult.
True, but they've started it. That's the good thing in India. So that's one of the recommendations I made in my book in the last chapter, that we need those professional courses offered in different Indian languages. And we can definitely create terminology, because people say, how can we study medicine in Hindi? How can we study engineering in Hindi? Where are those terms? Terms banane mein, it's not at all hard.
Languages are not something written in stone. You can modify. English language gets modified every year. They include some words from Hindi, some words from some other languages in English. Likewise, we can do in Hindi.
Absolutely. And so this is what I suggested. And Shankran Sanu has written that in his book also, that, we can have a body of terminology in Sanskrit, which can be used in India, Sri Lanka, Southeast Asian countries, because Thailand, Vietnam, they're also all, Indic countries. So we can have this terminology and we can use it, and slowly it will become popular. It will take a little bit of time. And so we can study every subject in Hindi or Sanskrit or any language once those terminologies are developed. So then it'll be easier, because today also there are rural children who are struggling when they get into engineering colleges. And so they have to learn English, and then when that subject is taught to them in English, they find it hard to cope. Right? So for them, at least, if they have a choice, they will study that subject in their own mother tongue. So the beginning has been made. I know that the BJP government is focused on that. So let's see how long that takes. And we on our part, we have to try and speak up. For you, I can see you're already very comfortable with Hindi. But for me, there is this Hindi and Kannada both.
Yes.
That I have to go back to learning how to.
I understand
how to read and write.
Telugu as well because of so many years of living in America. I was surrounded by Telugu people, so I started understanding Telugu. Then Tamil. I downloaded some of the ancient scripts which are not available in Hindi or Sanskrit. They are only in Tamil. So now if you want to read, you have to understand Tamil. Tamil was
you went into that
hard
depth?
and time taking. I tried. I couldn't.
So, but what's your mother tongue? Is Hindi?
Hindi, yes. Yes.
I see. Okay.
My
But you are able to
parents were
understand
from
Telugu.
Rajasthan and Gwalior and MP. So, and my both parents were doctors and they lived in North Indian belt in the UP area.
I see. I see.
Now it's Uttarakhand. Earlier it was just one state. So we were traveling all the way and every 2 years we used to get transferred. So we lived there. My parents are no more. So that was my connection that was severed from India, not going to India for 17 years while I was living in America. Yeah. So they passed
What
away
about now?
at quite young age.
Now do you go back?
Just since last 3 years, I have started going back. Just now I have realized that, it's high time.
Yes. I mean, that's the motherland.
Motherland, and it's not, now I'm after walking my spiritual journey, you can say now I'm living actually. Now I'm seeing the world. Earlier, I was just so focused within me that I as if living anywhere, the placement of the body in any geography did not matter for me. So no country, no place, I couldn't see. Now I feel that I am home within. So now no matter where I am home.
Okay, that's wonderful. Yeah,
And
so you have
going
reached
to
that state.
India now for me is more about, teaching people, preaching people, as well as visiting some of the Shakti places. That's what I do. So I went to Calcutta, to Kamakhya Mandir and all these places and for the Shakti. I'm going there just to bow down and for what I have been given in this lifetime. I'm just so thankful, so much in gratitude for that, and that's my reason to go there.
Right. Yeah. So for me also, now that so the thing is that for me it's I'm not as spiritually advanced as you are, but it's more from the history point of view. So I have entered. So when I used to earlier think that I don't need to understand much about philosophy and dharma if I just need to focus on the history. But then I realized that it's all so interconnected. You can't even understand the history of India if you don't know all these things, the philosophy.
Because the word history, when we see it from the Western perspective, and that's all that we had earlier, it gives you an idea as if it's just a sequence of events in a linear fashion that you do. That is what history is. But when you see the term itihasa, it has a completely different meaning. It's not even a direct translation.
That's the discovery.
Yeah.
Right. That's a discovery I made, that you can't separate them from each other. They're all together. And that has been very beautiful. It's a beautiful experience, discovering, peeling the layers, understanding it deeply. And then that makes me very happy. So each time I go to Bharat, I come back very charged. Gives me more energy and I can continue in America for another 6 months. But then after 6 months, again, it starts going down. And again, I have to go back to
Same thing is happening with me since last 3 years. Every time I think, no, I'll take care of my finances. This year I'm not traveling. And then again, I'm on the roads in India for 5,000 kilometers.
Right. That's true. There's so much that is inspirational, right? In Bharat, I see people who are in very difficult circumstances and still happy. I see a lot of people who are happy there.
Yes.
They're happy. They know.
Whole different culture. And I realize that anytime somebody says, let's go to this European country, that European country, and I'm like, I'm living in the West, right? If I spend the remaining lifetime of mine just traveling to India, or maybe to Bhutan or to Nepal or to Indonesia or to Cambodia or to Vietnam, I think this lifetime will be short.
Exactly. That's how I
wouldn't be able to even explore India properly.
Right.
Even if I keep going every year, every 6 months.
That's right. And for me now, there is also this the trips that I'm making to gurukulas.
Ah,
So I go to Bharat for, of course, my parents are there, friends, family members, but also for the gurukulas. So whichever city I go to, I try to pick out the gurukulas which are there and see what's happening there. What
so
are they
there are
teaching? What do they
gurukuls
need?
in India.
Absolutely. So that is the journey. After I wrote the book, it was not the book led me to that journey, which is again connecting with my forefathers, my ancestors. So people wrote to me. They said that we have a gurukula. Why don't you come and visit? So I visited one.
Huh.
Then I visited another. Then I found that there's so many Ved Pathshalas, and there are also modern gurukulas because there are people like you and me who have gone back to India and started gurukulas, which have a combination of modern and old
That's one of my
ancient
desire
education.
to start a gurukul. I started it
Yes.
online, but someday I'll have a building and I'll do that.
Yes, I mean, that is the way to
For
go hybrid. It has to
darshan
be
shastra and for spiritual education.
right. So that is something that a lot of people have started. So I'm trying to, because I get a lot of emails from people saying that we want to send, after reading your book, we want to send our children to gurukulas. So can you recommend a good gurukula? And I have to tell them I am also searching for my grandchildren whenever my daughter marries and has children. And then I should be able to recommend that hey, you should put your children in this gurukula. So I'm finding some very good gurukulas.
But I
more
heard
need
that
to be.
there must be a lot of challenges in surviving as a gurukula. You don't get
Absolutely,
funding,
yes.
and it's easy when you have a UGC or this recognized sort of a university or a college, and people also do not understand what's the point in learning darshan shastra. Why would you read a darshan shastra? It won't give you money. It won't give you a career. So why study
Right.
all that? So
Right.
what can we do to get rid of that kind of a drishti, that this is such a useless education, or is only meant for sannyasis and vairagis? Normal common people don't need it.
So as long as they are made, so the places that I am visiting, Darshan Shastra doesn't mean they're studying only Darshan Shastra, right?
There should
So
be
there
mixture
is
of
one.
subjects.
Yes. They are in fact studying a lot more.
Okay.
What I saw is that Gurukula students are not wasting a single minute. So they wake up at 4 a.m. and then 4 a.m. to say 12 p.m. they are studying all the dharmic subjects. So they will be doing Go Seva, they'll be doing all this, Sandhya Vandana, everything, and they'll be studying the Shastras till 12 p.m. Then there's some lunch, and then after lunch they're studying only the modern subjects. So there'll be English, there'll be science, there'll be everything. And I am thinking, my goodness, how many hours are they studying? So morning 4 a.m. to night 9 p.m. they have studied so much, and they're able to retain it also because they're learning the Vedic way of memorizing, and then they are studying all these things. So
How
I
much of a
frankly
good
think
generation and population will come out after a few years from these gurukuls?
that's what I'm excited.
Yeah.
I'm following their paths. So I'm seeing all these bright children. There is an aura about them. So in Vidya Kshetra in Bangalore, then in Gokarna, I visited Vishnu Gupta Vishwa Vidyapeeth. Then in Gujarat also I visited a couple. In Banaras, of course, I've seen. So these children, I feel the real education will happen for them.
Yes.
There's character building along with all these subjects. So I'm waiting to see what they do later in life. Will they take up regular jobs? Will they become teachers? Because teachers are needed. Gurukulas can be set up, but they need acharyas.
Yes.
That is the biggest challenge.
Yes.
So who is going to teach? Even this Agastya Gurukulam, which has started in Houston, and now they have a branch in Bangalore, that's completely online. What they are doing is they are teaching every subject in Sanskrit.
Okay.
So in Houston, it's doing very well. I think there are more than 100 students.
Wow.
It's a mainstream now. Agastya Gurukulam is mainstream. It's recognized. So those students are studying physics, chemistry, maths, everything in Sanskrit. And they will be easily able to pass any exam. That's not an issue with them. Once they learn Sanskrit, they learn to think very logically. English is very easy for them. So they are kids from the middle class.
Whole
just like
new
us.
bundle of neurons start firing in their brain if you learn Sanskrit. So
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's what I saw, that they have now set up a branch in Bangalore, and they have hybrid education. Some are present in the Gurukula and studying, and then there are others who have joined the class from their homes. And the teacher is teaching both of them equally well. So that is another thing that I saw. The Agastya Gurukula model, then the other traditional model, and even the Ved Pathshalas, which are focusing only on the Vedas, they also are studying basics of different subjects. So they will become acharyas, pandits, and all that, but they would know something about basic maths and science and everything, which is how it used to be in ancient India also. They always knew math.
Yeah.
I mean, they are the ones who have to make the yantras. They have to draw. They have to, they have to know geometry. They have to know astronomy. Yeah. So there will be these students from Gurukulas who will be joining as civil servants, who will be becoming engineers.
Correct.
So then we'll see. Maybe then we'll start seeing some change. At least I want to be optimistic.
Yes, definitely. Beautiful. So, Sahana ji, what is new? I mean, what are you doing these days? What new projects or things that you are working on? And
So one of the things I want to do is to visit. I mean, I want a database of gurukulas. So that's something I want to do now. Which are the gurukulas that are already there, and how are they doing? What kind of help do they need? Those kind of things I want to find out. So that I have started in a small way, but not in a very systematic way. And the other thing is I want to develop a course based on my book, which I will. When I went to India this time, I spoke at different universities. So I used to give a 1 hour talk on this topic, and then they all want more of it. 1 hour is not enough. So then I said, okay, let me do a 2-day workshop, or let me make a 5-day workshop, something like that. So I need to develop a course, but for different age groups. So small, younger children, older children. Once that course is ready, then it's easier for me to. And they also want recommended reading. They also want to know what other books can they read. All that is needed. People want to know.
Pollution, so much knowledge pollution has happened. It's so difficult to find one history book that you can say that, okay, there is some truth written in it, and it's not something, it's not going to misguide you, like how other history books and things have done in the past, especially in India. Not just in India, actually. Europeans do not know their own history. You talk to Irish, Scottish people here in Australia, most of them, they hate Britishers in a way, but they don't know the real history of what has happened because of so much 350 years of colonization. Imagine that. And recently Scotland and Ireland decided to get separated from UK. No more a united kingdom. We are no more united. You just take your kingdom, and we are living separately. So that is going on. And but a good list of books would be really helpful even for our viewers. If you can ever email me, I'll add that to the description of this podcast. So that way it will be really helpful. It will be helpful for me as well.
Sure. And we are still writing books right now. The circle is expanding. So more and more, since there is now a demand for these books, which are undistorted narratives. So we are also revisiting the Mughal history, all the medieval history, everything that also, because we didn't know all these things about the Mughals. We only thought they did grand things like building Taj Mahal. But now we, like that new book on Babar that has come out, new book on different Mughals, we come to know what they have done. So we should revisit every aspect of history.
Blood boiling
and also
history.
What we need is the dating, chronology. Because what has happened is that when the colonizers occupied us, they made sure that the dating of everything, our Indian history, was put as later to whatever they liked. So, Greeks would be the oldest. Then came, Sumerians, Mesopotamians and all. No, Mesopotamians are the old, Mesopotamians are the oldest, Sumerians. Then, so that way they kind of set the age for everything. And so it would seem as if, the Vedic people copied from these people.
How criminal-minded they were, I swear. Whose sinister mind would think like that? I mean, to distort the entire chronology of the history in itself.
Yeah, because they don't believe what we are saying about ourselves, right? So in our Mahabharata, they are looking at the stars and they're describing it. So from that, you can already make out how old it is. Yeah. In every text, there is a reference to the Panchanga. So we can make a lot of conclusions.
Yeah.
But they disregard it because they think this is not scientific. And they will go by whatever is European, that is more scientific. So there's a lot of research work that needs to be done in the future. So I, of course, at my level, I will try to write some more books have courses, and do something for Gurukula education to the extent I can. We need to really make sure that they are a good alternative to the mainstream education, and they should become mainstream themselves. The Gurukula education should not be some, kind of a special education. It should be the mainstream, wherein you are you're not wasting your time. You're studying shastras as well as modern subjects. That should be the way to go. So I have to make a stronger case for it. That's what I'm planning to do. So let's see how all this works out. If it's meant to happen, it will happen. I'm seeing roads opening up for me.
It will happen. The world, the level of consciousness and things are changing now. The truth cannot be hidden for any long more. So this will come out and things will start. And all I can say is that yes, from the low level of consciousness, they couldn't perceive what was written into our shastras, into our ancient systems and things, and they kept on looking at how can a low consciousness person understand what are subtle domains. And even the language in itself was a biggest restriction in understanding. English language doesn't have a word terminology for subtle realities of the life and human system or anything in general. So language in itself is a very limiting factor. So the first thing that people need to start limiting is that you need to know some other language other than English. Only then you are going to widen the horizon of your mind.
I think Sanskrit. I think what I would really like to see is Sanskrit becoming compulsory. There was this whole thing that Sanskrit is very difficult, very difficult. That's the impression we always had. And then Samskrita Bharati, when they started these spoken
I studied Sanskrit in my school time.
You studied it in school, okay. But mine was ICSE. So,
I
very,
can
very
write Sanskrit, and Sanskrit is the language. And I did go back and read a lot of things in Sanskrit just because I couldn't make sense of all the commentary that was written.
I know that's why you're a spiritual guru, because you have gone into Sanskrit. So for me, it is very late in life that I've started Sanskrit spoken at first, and then now I'm studying Vricha Katika under a teacher.
Ashtadhyayi I did. Ashtadhyayi and Amar Kosh and all those things. It takes time, but you are just overjoyed after reading all that. Understanding.
I know this studying these things is giving me so much joy that I'm trying to remember when I was in school and college.
Yes.
School and college was not feeling like this, right? When we studied anything there. And now all these subjects give so much joy. So
this prefrontal cortex really lights up. And I can, whenever I am in my samadhi and stuff, anybody who reads Sanskrit actually getting into deeper meditations, dhyana and samadhi becomes way much easier because you have made your prefrontal cortex functional. Those neurons are working. So it is easier to get into the subtle realities of this universe.
That's amazing. But I don't think Sanskrit studied in a Western university would lead to that.
Yeah, because
the way they are
remove
studying.
the sacredness.
I
don't know. They remove the atma of everything. They made languages like dead bodies, people like dead bodies. They just remove everything and make it some sort of a inanimate physical object. They just objectify
Very
it.
well said.
There is no involvement of the subject in it. So you can't find a connection that the way we read it and we study something and we are overjoyed. They don't get that same thing out of.
Yeah, so we need that. We need to study Sanskrit in that way, from the Indian way. That is the thing that I'm craving.
Yes.
So it's very nice talking to you.
Yes, definitely. So much beautiful, and thank you so much, Sahana ji. We will definitely have more podcasts with you to understand what the gurukuls are struggling with, what they are doing, and how some of our viewers can help out. Because these podcasts we have started so that we can reach out, and a lot of people can volunteer. If they cannot donate money, everybody is skilled in something. People should be able to reach out to you saying, okay, I want to work with you on this project and I have this much of time or whatever. So we want to connect people like you with the right audience. All you need is open mind and little bit of higher level of consciousness to understand and be able to see the vision of future and be able to work with you. Otherwise, all we see is closed minded, low consciousness people and sleeping people, those who don't care.
Right. So true.
Yeah.
It was a pleasure. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you so much, Sahana.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Oh.